Support WrestleTalk!
Give us a subscribe. Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be revisiting the Punjabi Prison Gimmick Match, revealing who won Saturday's fantasy booking warfare, about how to turn Bayley heel, and getting to some of your mailbag questions. If you want to go straight to any of those discussions, click the timestamps in the video description below, or stay right here, where we're just very briefly going to have a two-party popper salute to Talking Smack.
Up in the air.
Up in the air. Oh God, this is hard. Thank you, Talking Smack.
Thank you, Talking Smack.
We should really invest in some less celebratory things.
I think we should also take that bit of confetti that's over the lens.
Oh, yep, that will probably... There you go. That's been removed. Hopefully you enjoyed that visual reference.
Oh, mate, that's a
podcast
nice smell.
Listeners. That seemed more gun-fiery than usual.
It didn't just. I mean, we wanted to do like a 10-gun salute, so
yeah.
That really worked well. But yeah, I mean, what a sad day to lose Talking Smack. Just imagine being a company and you look at Talking Smack and 205 Live, and the one you go with is Talking Smack. It's consistently in the top 10 shows every week, whereas
20.
Well, yeah, but no, since Daniel Bryan's been back, it's been back on the up.
When he was gone, it dropped down to the 20s and in the 25s.
But 205 Live is always low because no one watches it.
Yeah, and the crowd reactions are dead. The Cruiserweight division really hasn't taken off. Austin Aries was released the previous Friday. And worst of all, Daniel Bryan and Renee Young just found out by going on the internet.
JBL found out the same way that Legends had been cancelled as well.
And apparently Unfiltered, Renee's chat show over coffee, that's been dropped as well on the WWE Network. So about that Remember When series, Luke.
Yes.
Now's probably the time to say, I love it.
Thanks.
And it's sticking around. I'm not going to cancel that.
Oh, thank God for that.
No worries.
I've only just come up with the idea.
The first thing we're going to jump into today, because it is fresh in our minds, maybe fresh is the wrong word, it's rotten in our minds, is the Punjabi Prison Gimmick Match.
Yes, because it returns. After a 10-year hiatus, it returns.
At Backlash this Sunday.
At Backlash.
Battleground, before you all start correcting us in the video comments. It's a running gag.
Running gag. So the Punjabi Prison... So you have never seen a Punjabi Prison match until today.
Well, you see, I think... A lot of wrestling fans seem to have this story where they go dark for a couple of years. They go out of love with wrestling, or just other things happen. Mine was between around that time when that was happening. Was off to uni last year of school and stuff, so I didn't watch that match. I was reading like you were. I read the results and stuff, but I wasn't actually keeping up to date with the product through watching it.
No, exactly. And I at that point in time was hardcore TNA for life.
Yeah,
so
same.
I was vehemently against anything that WWE put out. It's like, oh, that's just stupid. It's just rubbish. I was essentially like a WCW fan in the late 1990s, where I hated everything that WWF had to do.
It was hot though for a while. Do you remember there was a phone-in show? Can't remember what it was, but I used to watch this clip over and over again on YouTube to satisfy my inner TNA fan and go, yeah, we're coming for you, Vince. And it was someone would ring, I think it was Todd Phillips.
Yeah, I think I know the clip.
And someone just goes, TNA rules, it's better than WWE. And Todd Phillips goes, no, it isn't. And he has a little go at the guy who rang in.
Yeah, we should watch that when we get out of this recording booth.
I was like, we've got you running scared, the Big E.
So today, we had some lunch. You had a duck wrap.
It was a hoisin duck wrap.
Yeah, I had some lovely sushi, and we watched both Punjabi prison matches. The first one from the Great American Bash 2006 between The Undertaker and Big Show, and the second Punjabi prison between Batista and the Great Khali from No Mercy 2007.
Yeah. So should we talk about the rules of this? Because I thought I knew the rules of a Punjabi prison match.
Before we jump into the rules...
Oh, there's more preamble.
No, just before we jump into the rules, I thought I would ask you what your overall opinion is of the Punjabi prison.
Overall opinion, a brief summary. Of course, we're going to dive into it a bit deeper.
Yes.
Dive into it. It is needlessly complicated.
Yeah.
However, there were actually some nice moments in the matches that we watched where I was like, you know what, that was a good piece of storytelling.
Yeah.
And you couldn't have done that in a normal match. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
No, and I do actually think, as a visual spectacle, it's quite impressive to look at.
Not to see through.
No,
maybe.
I think if you're in the live audience, it's probably ghastly because you can't see anything. But from while we sit at home in our armchairs, it's quite an impressive feat.
Because you haven't got cameramen in there.
No, and as JBL said, it's like something from Steven Spielberg movie.
He pushed that hard.
It's like something from Jurassic Park.
So
movie with quite famously metal cages.
Yeah, because it does have a few metal cages.
Has
Isn't a cow lowered in at the start?
Well, that's what I'm
of the
saying. Is
T-Rex?
that in Jurassic Park they are all metal fences. They're not made of bamboo.
Oh, that's a good point. So
It's not keeping anything safe.
that particular piece of commentary, because we had the unique pleasure of watching both matches side by side, we picked up on all the things that they just repeated. And one of them was this JBL insistence that we were watching something from Jurassic Park.
Yeah, it's like something from a Steven Spielberg movie. It's like something Stephen King would have written.
Yeah, and then Michael Cole would say, it's like King Kong. He's like King Kong. And JBL's there going, no, it's not. It's like dinosaurs. It's like Stephen King wrote this. You know, no, that's not.
P.T. Tubbs, Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park. But also, he did compare the first match that we watched, which was The Undertaker versus The Big Show, to King Kong versus Godzilla, which, as a diehard Godzilla fan, I did love that reference.
What are you rocking today?
Rocky, funnily enough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Rocking some Rocky. I'm rocking just nothing.
Just plain.
Just a plain shirt.
Plain
Just
shirt.
a plain shirt. I've got a bit of dandruff on it, though. That's the blemishes that I like. So, right, rules.
Yes, let's go over the rules.
Because
Needlessly complicated.
I thought I knew what a bamboo... what's it called again?
A Punjabi prison.
A bamboo match. I thought I knew what a Punjabi prison match entailed, and that is you've got the inner structure, which is a cage made of bamboo. You escape that structure, and then you've got to get out of an octagonal structure with spikes at the top. I didn't know that in the inner structure, you had 4 doors operated by referees that were unlocked on pulley systems that were unlocked at the start. And a competitor within the match got to say, I'm going to go for this door. I'm going to try and escape through this door. Call the pocket, as you would call it in pool, if you play that rule to pop the black at the end. I'm going to go through that door. The door will open, and you've got 60 seconds to get through that door, at which point the door shuts and remains locked, and then that door is out of action.
And
you've only got 4 chances to escape the cage through a door.
And you didn't pick up on that rule until much later in the match, when at one point you suddenly said, like, oh, does that mean that they're locked forever now? And
yeah,
they're
like,
not
not going to... That's it.
I was like, yeah, that means that they're now trapped in there.
Forever. And because the first one we watched, because that was the first time ever, Michael Cole had to stand up in his commentary desk and explain to everyone all the rules. I remember watching the War Games matches, and someone would always have to do that as well. They run all these graphics, and they can't enter here, and then page 3 of the graphics of rules would come up.
The TNA, when they did the reverse battle royal, Mike Tenay introduced it with one of my favourite ones. So he goes, it's really quite simple. And then there's like all these limited rules. Like, to start the match, you have to fight on the outside to then get into the ring. And then by that point, once you are in the ring, that means you are then part of a battle royal where you are then thrown out of the ring. And then if you are the last 2, it becomes a straight one-on-one match with a pinfall finish.
Did we mention how big TNA fans we used to be?
It's really quite simple.
So that is needlessly complex, I think. And it's, it's not like they do it all the time. This is only going to be the 3rd Punjabi prison match in history this Sunday.
And that was going to be a point that I was going to raise, that back in the day, you remember when they would announce a Hell in a Cell match, and you're like, oh my God, a Hell in a Cell match. There's such a rarity.
Yeah.
Particularly like you think the Cactus Jack Triple H one from No Way Out 2000. By that point was like the 3rd or 4th Hell in a Cell match since 1998 when they had the first one. So you're like, wow, this is a big deal to have this match. Now they're 10 a penny. They do them on Raw. They do them on they have a pay-per-view dedicated
which
to
usually
the match.
has 2 matches on itself.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel quite as spectacular anymore. But after a 10-year hiatus, this match coming back does actually sort of feel like a bit of a big deal.
Well, the big driving force behind anything really should be character, and those, or character or story. You know, the problem we are in now with gimmicks and gimmick matches is that it's now a date. October is Hell in a Cell month.
Yeah.
So we're going to have Hell in a Cell matches. No matter what point your feud is in, we're going to have a Hell in a Cell match. It could be your first meeting, and we're going to have this thing that was typically used to blow off the feud, to finish the feud. You would have a cage match. That wasn't enough to settle it. We're going to have a Hell in a Cell match. Whoa.
Especially then if the feud continues and it's a straight one-on-one match afterwards. So we had the Hell in a Cell to build to a singles match.
So I remember the days when someone would announce a stipulation and that would get a pop from the crowd. A genuine we're going to see a ladder match. But now it's like, oh, okay.
Cool, ladder match.
I saw that coming because it's this month.
Yeah.
Ladder. Yeah, that's the next pay-per-view.
Exactly.
Great Balls of Ladder.
Because you have TLC and Stairs during that one fateful year.
So Hell in a Cell used to be these fierce matches. Undertaker kind of made sense as well. Buried Alive matches, they're kind of entwined with the character. And the Punjabi Prison Match, although the first one, we'll come on to that, was tied to the Great Khali. So you have these 2 matches that were meant to involve the Great Khali, ended up only being 1. And then Jinder Mahal later has inherited this Punjabi prison gimmick being Canadian, and he's going to have the 3rd one. So it comes from a place within the character, and hopefully this would be the blow-off as well.
Oh, you just hope so, because this is a 3rd straight pay-per-view that they've had a match. I actually really hope that we get a Great Khali appearance at Battleground.
On what terms is he with WWE?
I think he's on good terms.
Because he's got his training school by name.
And I think he's got a wrestling company over in India. I think he has anyway.
I think he's one of the guys who lends his name to a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Or is it actually run by someone else?
Yes.
But it'll be... Because the Great Khali Wrestling School is actually Ricardo Rodriguez who runs it.
Yes. So I'd like to see an appearance by Great Khali as the man who brought the Punjabi prison over to the US.
Well, shall we get into this first one then? Because it was meant to be Great American Bash 2006. It was meant to be Great Khali versus The Undertaker. But tell us what happened, Luke.
Well, this whole pay-per-view has been hailed as one of the worst pay-per-views in WWE's illustrious history. And the reason for that is because all the stuff they'd been building up to, things like the Great Khali versus The Undertaker and Bobby Lashley getting the United States Championship off Finlay, I think, at the time, all sort of blew up because they did some drugs testing and both of them had Pop's liver enzymes, which mean that they were effectively failing wellness tests.
Because this was... The wellness policy had just been introduced.
Yes, because this was following Eddie Guerrero's tragic passing.
Still very, very new.
Yeah. But pre-Benoit.
Okay.
Because Benoit was... Yeah, it was 2007.
Late 2006.
2007. Actually, we've just passed the 10-year anniversary. It was quite recently, the 10-year anniversary. And so, essentially, the Great Khali could not compete in this match. So, instead, they shot an angle at the start of it where Great Khali wants to have his match right now, but he couldn't. And Daivari was trying to stop him from having the match, and then he attacked The Undertaker and was then also helped by the Big Show, current ECW champion. And then Teddy Long, super upset about all this, said that Big Show will instead take on The Undertaker.
You're missing a classic Teddy quote here.
Sorry,
one-on-one with
The Undertaker. So that's why we then had the Big Show versus The Undertaker instead. Not for the ECW Championship.
Yeah. So all that stuff I just said about gimmicks being tied to character, you would, just maybe postpone the match, that gimmick match, and then you just have a straight Big Show Taker match. But they probably felt they spent too much money on making the whole thing. So we've both got a cough today.
So it's because I had those nuts.
Kissing. Stop kissing each other.
That's because I had those little peanut things, the Grey's Veggie Power ones. And I just got a bit of
residual dust.
I think some edamame beans caught at the back of my throat.
So they kept on. Here's a few quotes that that people said. Michael Cole and JBL in describing the match. 20 feet of bamboo on the outside structure.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
And it looks cool.
Once the timber is up, door is closed forever. Oh, the timer is up. So the timber. So the 60-second thing. That's the door's closed. 1 mile of material to construct. Imagine if you laid everything out.
Problem is,
That's quite a long way, though.
So, because they use this line when they talk about the elimination chamber, it's like 20 feet of concrete steel or whatever they say.
Concrete steel.
Yeah, concrete steel, structure, steel structure.
We've created a new
super
material.
Structure. But it makes it sound like it's really deadly and impressive. Whereas I'm just saying a mile of material.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound quite as cool. Which I think then when they did the second one the year later, they then introduced the whole steel reinforced bamboo.
Yeah. So Luke and I still don't know what that means.
I think it basically means that it's a steel structure.
Steel?
With bamboo wrapped around it.
Surely the bamboo's going to soften the blow there. So I've got a bamboo desk at home. It's very light, not that threatening. Pandas love it. Always getting rid of the pandas, just nibbling at the corner of my desk. I'm like, go on, repopulate your species, you goddamn pandas. But so what?
Okay, right. So let's try and skip past that bit. But
I've got one more bit for the structure.
Please do.
So the other bit that really rang hollow was when they kept describing the spikes at the octagonal outside structure. The 20-foot one has these spikes, sharpened spikes, razor sharp spikes, if Michael Cole would have you believe. They were quite obviously blunt pieces of wood.
And he could not get those words out.
Yeah.
He wanted to say they're super spikes that you put your hand on it, or goes through your hand.
Yeah.
And he was trying to find the best way to describe it, and could, a little bit like me then, and just could not find the words. And in the end it was the spikes like you'd see at prison.
Sharp. So maybe that's a lie too far for Michael Cole. We found the bit where he's like, you know what? I used to be a war reporter. I'm not going to call those razor-sharp spikes. Everything else, fine.
I will say, I think that JBL did a much better job of selling the match than Michael Cole did. This was really early JBL on commentary.
He was really good.
And he was genuinely really great, because he also was coming from it a lot from a character perspective. Yeah. At one point he said, he goes, I was with The Undertaker in the Ministry of Darkness. I know how far this man can go. This is not that same guy anymore, because the storyline was that the Great Khali had been beating The Undertaker down to the point of he beat The Undertaker with putting his foot on Taker's chest. It was the cleanest of clean victories that The Undertaker's ever had with anyone, or clean losses rather. And so JBL was doing a really good job of selling that character aspect of it, while also selling that the Big Show is ECW champion. That means he's the extreme champion of the world, and that he's now dangerous, the most dangerous he's ever been. While at the same time selling how scary this structure was. I've been in razor cage matches, Mangle. I've never been anything like this. This is terrifying. Jurassic Park, etc.
There's the latest impression for the repertoire. It really did, and somehow getting all that over and still being insanely funny.
Yeah.
Because he obviously wanted Big Show to win. Big Show was the heel in this scenario. JBL's the heel commentator. And Michael Cole says something slightly in favour of Undertaker at one point, despite JBL saying how he wants Big Show to win all the way through the match. And JBL just goes, we're meant to be unbiased commentators, Michael. You can't just go and say that. And it was...
Because he kept calling Teddy Long an idiot. And these biased referees, they won't let the Big Show out.
Exactly like that. The actual match, the actual 2006 Great American Bash, first Punjabi prison match ever. Big Show comes out, and you can see him, if you watch it on the WWE Network, he walks out quite confident. He should have immediately seen the structure, because he seems to only clock it halfway down the ramp. He looks at it, and you can see him clearly mouth, what the F word? What the actual F word is going on here?
He looks so scared by it.
And then Big Show can somehow, for someone so big, can turn on the crocodile tears very quickly. And he started to cry,
especially when
subtly.
When the Undertaker came out as well, because he's now like, oh dear, I'm locked in this terrified. There are spikes up there.
Oh heavens!
Oh heavens! I am locked inside 2 cages with the Undertaker of all people.
And I thought it was bamboo, but actually, the steel inside. I can hear it when I knock. So. This match wasn't for a title, though, because it was quite hastily put together. I've just got a few notes here. People like counting down from 10.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Because every time one of the 4 doors would go up, I'm really glad we watched this, because I wouldn't have a clue what was going on Sunday otherwise. You get a 60-second timer until the door goes shut forever. As soon as it hit 10, everyone, 9, 8, 7. We're at the Royal Rumble again. Just expect Roman Reigns' music to hit a decade early.
You did do that every time it got to the one. It was like, dun.
Yeah, disappointment. The crowd can't see. We pointed that out.
Yeah, the crowd are very quiet through this. I mean, and you would be, because this is a match that you hadn't paid to see. This was like almost like a bonus matchup. But at the same time, from what I've been told, seeing cage matches live aren't that exciting because you can't really see into it. Same with the Hell in a Cell match. But there's 2 structures to see through. So when they're actually in the ring, if you're in the crowd, you can't see anything.
If you get hit with a bad vantage point, the 2 structures don't line up perfectly. That means it's like that, and you're just trying to. It's like creepily watching your neighbour in the garden through a fence.
Yeah.
So I'm told, and you don't have, because in Hell in a Cell you get a camera guy in there. You can get the shots in the ring. Didn't have anyone in there.
No,
not even inside the middle area.
They had cameramen in the middle.
Oh, did they?
Yes, because that's how they were to get.
Oh, that's a good point with the referees.
Yeah.
We didn't even talk about the weapons.
But their weapons weren't used in the end, because they were like tables on the outside that had weapons. Because JVL at one point goes, "Weapon? Those weapons!" And then surprised that he didn't even sort them for. But those weapons were never used. But the tables were. So they get out.
The weapons were on, yeah.
Yeah. So like Big Show just sort of tipped up. I don't think he knew they were supposed to be weapons, and just instantly went for the table and just knocked them all on the floor and then put the table up.
And there was straps hanging.
Yes.
From the inside structure. And ropes on the outside one. So, because of that, both men bled, which was nice to see. Do miss a bit of blood. But it actually, and this is where I was expecting something really bad. And the first 10 minutes were quite slow and clambering.
It's Big Show Undertaker. It's going to be just like a big lumbering, big guy match.
But the way they did it was Taker, first door locked, second door locked. Undertaker escapes through the 3rd door, and you're like, hey ho, Taker's, the baby face is winning here. Big Show calls for the 4th door to go unlocked. He does. He gets out, gets Taker, and throws him back into the ring
before the timer went down.
And then Taker is now locked. All those 4 doors are locked. He can't escape. So Big Show's like, I've won this one. I start climbing up. Great psychology. What does Taker have to do? He now has to climb out the structure, the inside one. Minus the razor-sharp spikes. And he leaps onto the outside structure. He does this great jump. I thought it was a great spot.
It was a really good spot,
He kicked Big Show off, and then he sort of did a pirate swing.
Tarzan
off
swing,
a rope, Tarzan swing, because you can't have any references past the 1930s.
In all fairness, they referenced Jurassic Park multiple times.
Oh, that's a good point.
That was 1993.
Good point. That is obscenely current for WWE. Only 15 years out by this point. And I thought that was actually really good.
I thought it was really good as well.
Now but the finish was comically.
You lost your mind a little bit, because the match had finished and I went to pause it and put the next match on, and you literally went like, well, no, what happens with this bit here? And I was like, oh no, nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
because at the end of the match, Big Show and Taker are on the outside. No, sorry, Big Show's on the outside. Taker's climbed up the inside, and Jinder Mahal walks through the crowd.
Not Jinder Mahal.
Great Khali.
Daivari and Great Khali come out through the crowd, and they start climbing the structure on the other side of the ring. And it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden,
Taker jumps off the inside structure to hit Big Show. The entire ring entrance ramp side of the octagonal part opens. Big Show hits the ground first. Then Taker sort of rolls over him. He touches the ground. The referee declares Taker as the winner.
There's a real pause of like, what? Who won?
Yeah.
Like the crowd don't pop because they're not sure if someone did win.
Is it first person out? Is it 2 feet touch the ground first?
There's also a pause of the bell ringing as well. And all of a sudden, like the referee just goes up and points at the Undertaker, and then the bell rings, and then the Undertaker's announced as the winner.
And then, like, never mind that. What's Great Khali doing?
Struggling
on the
to climb.
Other side
He's
of the ring.
proper struggling to climb
he's
it.
not doing well there, despite all the liver enzyme help he has. And it's like, what? So, and that's it. That's the end of the match.
Yeah.
I found it perversely funny.
Yeah,
because it was really quite bad.
I to a degree sort of enjoyed the match. When they got out of the first bit, it got much better.
Yeah.
But the ending was pretty naff, comically funny as you quite rightly said. But I made the point that because you said the rules are a bit foggy here, and I brought up the Vince Russo won the WCW championship in WCW by being speared through a cage by Goldberg, and because Vince Russo was the first person to leave the cage because Goldberg is doing the offensive move, Vince Russo was declared the winner and therefore the champion. So technically, Big Show should have won.
So yeah, it's a strange one. It's 10 minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes of quite boring.
Yeah,
and
it's a
then
long match.
And then 5-10 minutes of there's some interesting spots here. I'm getting
Two
invested.
table spots.
I'm getting invested in the Taker babyface underdog thing. Now he's trapped in the middle of the cage, and the timing of all the doors closing was really innovative, especially because it was the first one. But then the last 5 minutes, a bemused comedy. So what about No Mercy 2007? Great Khali finally got his Punjabi Prison Match.
Certainly did.
The last ever Punjabi Prison Match in WWE.
Yeah, that's right, until Sunday.
9.5 years ago.
He was chasing Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship. Batista, the conquering champion, defending against this 7-foot-tall, lumbering monster who has the vice-like grip that no one can escape from, Maggle. So it was a tough old hill for Big Dave to climb, especially considering he was then fighting inside the Punjabi prison. Now, I don't think...
Not on home turf.
No, exactly. This is home field advantage for the Great Khali. Now, what I would say is I don't think Dave sold the Punjabi prison as well as Big Show did. No. Whereas, Great Khali, very comfortable. He's been in these matches his entire life. He's brought this match over. He knows this like the back of his hand.
It's a tradition over there. I'm sure it is.
They have them all the time.
Yeah.
But, I think in WWE's mind, in those deep, dark jungles of India where bamboo matches are they're 10 a penny. They're Hell in a Cell matches in America. So he walks around like it's absolutely nothing. But Big Dave also just walks in like it's nout. And I felt that he should have been should have done my favourite spot in cage matches or Hell in a Cell matches. When you walk up, you grab it, give it a little shake, just make sure that it's still there. Oh, yeah.
That's sharp.
That's sharp.
That's razor sharp.
That's definitely steel infused.
So it was a dual brand. You pointed out all the Punjabi prison matches in history, including the Sundays, are going to have been SmackDown matches. However, there's a slight asterisk. The first Great American Bash 2006, the first one, was a SmackDown-only show. This one was a dual-brand show by the time they'd stopped running the brand exclusives.
Yeah, I think they stopped them around late 2006, I think they stopped doing it eventually. For the better, I might add, as well.
But this was a SmackDown match still. So there's not as much to say about this because this was nowhere considering everyone says 06 is the terrible one.
And this is the better one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I disagree.
I
think
as well.
the 06 one's got plenty to have fun with. Although right out of the bat, Khali gets a door open after getting Batista on the floor. And we just cracked up, didn't we? Because he is too big and too slow and lumbering to get through the little door bit.
Because you have to climb through the... you have to climb through the ropes and then through the door. But by the time he bends over to get through the ropes, he then can't bend down far enough to get through the door either.
Because the door doesn't go all the way up. It only goes up just above the second rope, doesn't it?
So he needed to get onto his back essentially and commando roll out.
It's how I would get out of it. I think. Just sort of slightly fall and roll out.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Too big.
And then, what was this? So Batista tried to get through the door, and then Carly got the door and smashed it on his chest a few times.
Spot, yep.
That was okay. I booked a better version as we were talking it, where you trap them in the guillotine and then you climb out.
Yeah.
Maybe lock the guillotine in place.
I did like the there was a spot in which actually that was in the first match I was thinking when they had like Big Show was trapped between the ropes and the bamboo and Taker was charging at him. But I think they did a similar one in the Batista Carly match where I think so anyway. I can't. Maybe I've made that up.
It's a bit of a blur.
We've
of
literally
Punjabi
just
Prison.
watched it, and I've forgotten everything that happened in it. It wasn't as good as the first one.
So what happens is neither of them are able to escape the inner structure by the time all the 4 doors. So they've wasted all 4 doors. So both guys have to go out of the inner structure. So Carly needs to climb 2 structures.
Yeah.
Why did they book it that way? Maybe for the lols. Maybe for a rib.
He was very slow in doing so. But it did lead to actually a pretty good finish in which Carly has done his vice grip, so no one gets out of that maggle. And now Batista can't get back up and he's knocked out. And so Carly just climbs over, climbs up, and he climbs down, and then starts to climb up. And you're like, oh, wow, like Carly's going to win this. Then Big Dave comes to, he scales up the one side, then slightly hops over, and then leaps from one structure to the other, which means he's now neck and neck with Carly. And it was a very good sort of race for the finish.
Yeah, especially the other side, because Carly was lumbering down, whereas Batista was almost, he'd have hold of a rung and then let go and slip down to the next rung. Yeah. He was going quite fast. I think I've seen... That's how Channing Tatum jumps down the little bits in 22 Jump Street.
Yeah.
So overall, an interesting stipulation.
It has actually made me...
Oh,
sorry.
Oh, trying to get into it, are you? Talk about that later.
It has actually made me a little bit excited for the match on Sunday because at least it's something I can get enthused about with this feud, which I'm totally not into. But I think with this gimmick around it, and it's going to be the first time we're doing a Punjabi Prison match in 10 years, and it's the first time we're doing it without lumbering big men. We're doing it with agile, medium-sized men in comparison to... I mean, they're tall, but, they're not the 300-pounders that the Carly, Taker, and Batista were.
So I wasn't excited about this match in the slightest. Until I heard about the door thing. Honestly, it's such a nice suspense thing, and you get them locked in the middle.
But you said that you found them needlessly convoluted.
It is needlessly convoluted. Way too complex. But there is... Once you put that aside, it does make for some really nice storytelling. So I'm interested to see how they're going to do it, especially because both matches so far have involved someone jumping from one cage to the other. So where's that RKO coming from?
Yeah,
maybe Randy jumps and does an RKO from 20 feet in the air.
Oh, the superest of all the super RKOs.
The results are in for Fantasy Booking Warfare. Of course, the overall winner for the month of predictions and winners of Fantasy Booking Warfare matchups will get this lunchbox. For me, it has a scandal that could ruin me. And of course, you wanted to
find out what that scandal is.
But you did not try hard enough.
Apparently not.
Because how to turn Bayley heel in WWE competition at the weekend on Saturday. Go back to Saturday's show to watch that. People have voted, and it is that the largest landslide?
I'd say that's the largest landslide in an actual competitive one. It's not like the New Day breakup one where I was only given like half an hour to actually prep it.
So out of 2,756 votes, I got 81% of those with 2,240, and you got 19 with 560.
Yeah, that's not a great result for me. That's the sort of result I think Theresa May was expecting from this general election.
Yeah, but don't count out a buffoon who can work the social media.
I don't know, I was not surprised because I thought your storyline was very good and my storyline wasn't great because I couldn't really find a good hook.
But they were quite close. There wasn't... Because when we did the Kurt Angle storyline, I was like, that's the best one I've ever written. You ended up winning 60-40, but this one I was like, this is quite close actually. 81-19.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Very tough to call.
But I was getting a lot of positive messages from people on the old socials and in the comments. People like, I thought this was very good. But the public have spoken. The Wrestle Talkers have spoken, and you won in quite a decisive, devastating landslide victory. So that puts us up 2-2 all.
Yeah, so we've both now got a fantasy booking warfare win apiece. You won the Kurt Angle mystery text one.
Yep.
I should have won. I got the Bayley, and we drew for Great Balls of Fire predictions.
Yes.
So we'll have the Battleground predictions this weekend to see who gets up on the next round. And finally today, we're delving into the mailbag for one of our Patreon donators who has pledged so much, we're going to answer a question from him.
Yes.
Fast-tracked him to the front.
So, Karen, if you are watching, your email is on our to-read list. It was going to be in this episode, but unfortunately we talked about the Punjabi Prison Match much longer than we thought we would do.
I didn't know we had so much to say.
I know. I can't believe we
Punjabi
talked like 25 minutes about those matches.
And I could probably do another 20. I've got another 20 in me for Punjabi Prison. So this is, we'll get on to how to say his last name in a second. His first name's Daniel. I can do Daniel well, but his second name is German. And my pronunciation isn't as good there. Hi, Ollie. Hello again. The Mayor of Painesville is back. That's his wrestling nickname. Everyone who donates on Patreon gets a wrestling nickname. So, number 1 point, he says, how to pronounce my last name. German version. Would you like to say that?
No.
Shatmere.
No, I don't think it's Shatmere. Schachtmere. Yeah, I think there's more of a on the CH.
And but he's written down the phonetic version of how I say it, which is Schartenmeier. I like my version more.
Yeah.
However, his Twitter is much easier to say. It's at Wallu2Go, and he comments in the YouTube videos as Wallu, WALU TV. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to call you Dan.
Yeah.
Dan.
Cheers, Dan.
And thirdly and finally, his wrestling question. This is a really
very
good
question.
Does the wrestler make their entrance theme, or does the entrance theme make the wrestler in terms of getting over with the crowd?
An excellent question, and one that I think I could at least give a good answer for with examples.
Go for it.
So
that's more than I have.
So I think, the perfect example of this is Bobby Roode at the moment. There are a lot of people who think that the song is over as opposed to Bobby Roode is over. In the same way, there are a lot of people who thought that the Yes chant was over, not Daniel Bryan.
Sure.
But I think that Daniel Bryan was the reason why the Yes chant got over, because it was his character and it was his personality that people liked, and Yes was just something that we latched onto along with him. I think it's the same with Bobby Roode, because I think Bobby Roode is a great heel. I think he's a great promo. I think he's a fantastic in-ring worker, and he still gets the same reactions during the matches. It's not like people sing Glorious when he's during his entrance and then stay quiet. Everyone sings along with it and then is alive during his match as well, and I think that's down to Bobby Roode. Now, conversely, Alex Riley had amazing entrance music. Say It to My Face, what a great song that was. That was super. That entrance music should have got him over alone, but it didn't. And Alex Riley it failed completely on the main roster. He then sort of came back with NXT with The Rage, Alex Riley, and that didn't work either. And then he was released.
And now he's in Glow.
And he was in Glow. And he was actually quite good in Glow.
Yeah, he was
as well.
good. He was.
So I think those are good two examples of how I think that the Glorious song complements Bobby Roode, whereas I think that Alex Riley was over just because of the entrance music and didn't get any further than that.
I take issue with the Alex Riley example because I thought he had something.
He did
There was a moment there where he could have... The flame just needed to be ignited, and I think we were looking at a genuine next upper mid, potentially, dare I say, lower main eventer spot guy.
I completely agree.
Because when he was with The Miz in those early NXT days, and he was The Miz, he just carried the briefcase everywhere, he had a great look. When he turned on The Miz, in the babyface role, not in a heel fashion, he was the abused underdog minion. the crowd really got behind him, and he had a sort of explosiveness when he attacked the Miz there.
And that's when he then got the awesome entrance music.
Yeah, and then he did something to John Cena. Nobody knows what it is,
No.
but by all accounts, something happened backstage. Cena took a mega disliking to him, and then Riley the Miz program just ended really quickly.
Yeah,
Real shame.
If there's one thing you don't want to do within this industry, it's anger locker room leaders. Don't upset the Undertaker. Don't upset John Cena.
Takes a while to recover.
Don't upset Randy. Just be respectful and just shake their hands and don't do anything to upset them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go up to John Cena and be like, "Oh, I was one of those guys that used to boo you in 2006 because I thought you were rubbish and undeserving to be in the spot you were in."
Nipple cripple, run off.
No, you'd walk up and shake his hand and be like, "You've done so much for this industry."
So the Alex Riley one, I think a better example for the... I don't know if that works out either. I was going to say Fandango, because Fandango had naff entrance music, but it caught on thanks to the WrestleMania 30 chant, WrestleMania 29, whatever one it was.
Yeah, it was either one of those two, yeah.
And that was a genuine sensation for a good couple of months there.
I feel like only in the UK, though.
Oh, I don't know. It was on a lot of the American shows as well. The Raws are
maybe,
but
yeah.
But anyway, I mean, it broke the charts.
Well, yes,
it entered the UK charts because people loved that song so much. But and Johnny Curtis, Fandango, is an excellent wrestler. We've seen he can carry himself on promos, in comedy in particular, with the recent Breezango stuff. But for whatever reason, it just never quite clicked with that. The gimmick was problematic.
He was hindered by a rubbish gimmick.
I'm a dancer, that was pretty much it.
Before we watched actually it was after we watched the Punjabi Prison Matches, we were just watching the Gimmick Battle Royal from WrestleMania X7. And that was a match that was full of naff gimmicks from the 90s. A dustbin man, a clown, a hockey player. It was just, in the 90s, it was like, you are a wrestler and a blank. And then you just put a profession in there. Fandango felt like a holdover from that 90s era where you were like, you are a wrestler and a dancer.
Yeah.
You are a ballroom dancer. That is your gimmick. And the problem is, like, at that period in time, we didn't really want gimmicks. We wanted wrestlers.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunately what he was able to. And it's really hampered him.
So can I give an answer that sits on the fence?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure that's exactly what Daniel wanted.
Yeah, you didn't want a definitive, conclusive answer, did you, Daniel? So I would say they both make each other. Oh no, that was lackluster.
Oh dearie
me!
But
you need the entrance. You can actually, a wrestler can get over despite what their wrestling entrance music is. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing. However, if they've got great wrestling music, that really, really helps.
Yeah.
However, if they've just got great wrestling music, they're only going to reach a certain point. Fandango, Mike and Maria Kanellis could hurt them as well.
Oh, I forgot how good that entrance music was.
Great entrance music, but really is that gimmick going to get over to another level?
Mm-hmm.
But if, who's got bad entrance music as a main eventer?
Yeah, Big Cass.
As a main eventer.
He will be soon.
I'm just that you can...
Jinder music was a bit rubbish.
It's the wrestler that's important here, and the wrestling entrance music is the wrestler and the gimmick is really what's most important. But yeah, I hope that you're kind of satisfied with that answer, Daniel.
I felt it was a good discussion about, and we actually went through that entire discussion without mentioning Shinsuke Nakamura's music.
That's a good point.
And some people would argue that he is over because of his entrance music, as opposed to because he hasn't exactly had blow-away matches since, since his debut at WrestleMania with Sami Zayn last year.
So that's more of a whole entrance thing, though. Because the music's great, but it's the way Shinsuke carries himself down to the ring.
Absolutely.
How long it goes on for. Do you get a bit bored these? I don't know. He's only just got to the corner of the crowd. There's that bit.
Yeah. Do you feel the same way about Finn's entrance music as well? Because Finn's
it's a long entrance music.
It's a great entrance, but now you see it every single week on Raw. You're like, bit long, this, isn't it?
It's not as special, is it? And he hasn't done the full gimmick paint.
No.
For a while,
and
too.
And unless he has a big match at SummerSlam, I guess he's not going to do it then either.
Yeah. Which is apparently Bray Wyatt. read that earlier.
Then
today.
he probably will do it for that then.
Yeah. So just a nice little bit of self-fellatio at the end from Daniel.
Love that.
I'd like to thank you and Luke for all you've been doing for our entertainment and hope this truly is built to last. And thanks for reading the thousands and thousands of tweets I've been sending you over the last few weeks.
Thank you.
No worries, Daniel. Thanks for sending them in.
Thank you.
But that is all we have time for today. So click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk news or WrestleRamble episodes. Support WrestleTalk on Patreon and subscribe so you never miss a future episode. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.